We love Zoom. Zoom just lets you
Yes.
hang out, waiting for attendees to join. Hey, Matt, how are you?
JP, doing well, doing well.
You know, we're starting the day off here with good news. Last night, you sent me and Howard a text message, and it wasn't a "Good night, I love you" text message. It was something else.
What? You didn't get that message? You didn't get that one?
I think I missed that one.
Yeah. Well, I didn't send it, so.
So what happened yesterday?
No, so yesterday about, I don't know, 5:30 or so, the broker from our Columbus deal that we just put in LOI in yesterday, I think it was, he said that we would be making best and final. So
BFA.
Yes. Or
Use the acronyms.
BFA. Exactly. So yeah, so we are in best and final for a 340 unit deal in Columbus. Great opportunity. So we'll see what comes of that. So
And what was my comment that I shared with you?
Always a bridesmaid. Always a bridesmaid.
So Matt and I have become really good. I don't even know if this is a good thing. We've become really good at getting to best and final. Our next set of mastery will become getting from best and final into, hey man, we love your offer. We want to do this. Let's sign a contract, right? We love your terms. And terms are the funny part. Terms are like, how long are you take to close? How much money are you going to give me?
And that's what makes or breaks it.
And that's it. And everyone wants you to close in like a week. And it's like everyone forgets. I don't know. Hopefully we're not those idiots on the other side of the fence when it comes time to close something, because things take a long time. Yeah. Especially with the nonsense that's going on right now. I don't know. So that's my gripe. That's my
all good.
All good for today.
We'll get there.
So, which means we need to spend some time today and tomorrow and really create our marketing package.
Well, not the full-blown marketing package. Yeah, can't do that.
Yeah, we'll do that and really kind of dial in the numbers, as they say. All right. So anyway, let's continue our saga.
Yes.
So I think where we left off, we talked about challenges with perceived lack. No, that's what we're going to talk about. Perceived lack of experience. That's what we're talking about today. Yesterday, we talked about contract blunders. I talked a lot yesterday, and I'm sure, I don't know if people like hearing my gravelly voice.
Your gravelly voice.
Yeah. So why don't you start off some things about challenges that we've faced, because there have been many, and there continue to be some, and then I'll pipe in.
So there's always growing pains, right? No matter where you are in your real estate career, there's always going to be someone who's going to look at this and say, how are you going to do this? And how is that possible? That just can't work. One of the most common ones that we keep hearing is right now, JP and I have a 250 units.
We're going to get a coin jar.
Yeah. We need
We're going to get a coin jar.
Yeah. Instead of like a square jar, we need a belittlement jar or something like that. So any rate, every time we have this conversation, everyone's like, how are you going to possibly manage this? You're going to double your portfolio. Meanwhile, JP and I, again, we have 250 units. We had to double our portfolio over and over again to be able to get to 250 units. And that's something that people don't necessarily seem to grasp.
These are smart people.
Yeah. And what they don't realize is, our units or our current property is a little bit smaller. So we've got a 55 unit, we've got a 97 unit,
96 unit, and a 12 unit, and then we've got a 28 that's out of state.
Yep. So I mean, all of these are not, well, I should say there's only two of them that are very, very close to us. We're managing all of these remotely, and really with the exception of the 96 unit, that one is large enough to be able to have a property manager on site, and just barely large enough. But other than that, I mean, managing smaller properties is a lot more difficult than managing a larger property, because you can put the staff right on site. So there's a maintenance person. If something goes wrong, he's right there.
You can hire professionals.
Yeah. So it's it's a hell of a lot easier managing a larger property than what it is, doing smaller properties remotely. So that's what a lot of people don't seem to grasp. They look at the numbers and it's inconceivable to
Yeah.
some people.
So we run into that a lot. We run into the proximity challenge, right? Or I guess location challenge. How are you going to do this from afar or nearby? What else? We run into, I guess we'll call it just general tenure, right? How long have you guys been doing this? You've been doing this for 3 years. I guess the argument we could make is, well, everyone's got to start somewhere.
Yep.
And, if we look at what we've been started doing is, and we encourage everyone to actually start early on doing this, especially if you're new to real estate investing. We created a spreadsheet and it was very simple. We took in, what do we do? We took all the rows. We had a row of gross income, expenses, and NOI. And then right next to that, we penciled out what our yearly and monthly pro forma projections were. And then each month along the way, columns beyond that, we started putting in actuals. So we put in June, July, August, September. And then we can see on a monthly standpoint, from an income standpoint, are we higher or lower than what we projected? Are we higher or lower in our expenses? Are we higher or lower in our NOI? And across all of our properties, with the exception of the 96, because that's a bit more complicated one, we'll talk about that later, we are above our projections. And so that tells me, if I look at numbers and metrics,
we're doing something right.
We're doing something right. And if we can maintain that, or we've maintained that for a number of months or years, I think we've got this. And if anything, hiring actual professionals that will be doing the day-to-day management of these properties and our larger properties, I'm having a hard time seeing how that could be a hindrance for us. I mean, if we've gotten this far and we've figured things out, I'm pretty sure we can figure out the next challenge. So I guess be prepared to deal with the naysayers and the rock throwers.
Belittling.
Because they love it.
Create your own belittlement jar.
I did. I made a note in my Brendan planner. I've got this high performance planner. I'm a fan of Brendan Burchard. We could talk about that another day when we do personal development. But his planner is really good. So I put that on the task that absolutely must be done today. So cool. So let's touch upon many close calls with equity groups who wanted to help out but couldn't.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know, how many have we talked to, JP? Probably 30, 40 groups over the course of this last couple of months.
Directly and indirectly. So there's indirectly probably more than 40. Directly, I think the number's about 12 to 15.
Yeah. Ish.
And it at least that amount of people. And the directly are even more, they're more, I don't want to say tiring, but they're more tiring because you start into initial dialogue, you give everybody the pitch. Hey, here's what we're trying to do. We're trying to change the world. We want to make really large impacts on people's lives. We'll talk about our management ethic. And then, it kind of sounds good. Great. Send me the numbers. We'll look at the underwriting. They look at the underwriting. We do a follow-up call. And then they throw up all the stuff that we just talked about. How are you guys going to do this? How are you going to double your account? How are you going to get those rents? Oh, wait, we didn't get into the, well, I guess this is part of it, right? Is the rents, right?
Yeah.
So we talked to a lot of groups to answer your question, Matt. Talked to a lot of groups.
Yes. So, a lot of the, I guess, some of it is really just knowing and understanding what your investor groups are looking for and interested in, because we did get quite a few of them that basically said, look, location, meaning geography, we just don't want to invest in the northern states. Everyone likes the sunshine states. So
me too.
Yeah, exactly. I'm still up in that north.
The northern states.
So some of them, basically dropped out because of that. Some of them dropped out because of the age of the assets. And then some of them, were dropping out because basically, us, the sponsors, we didn't have enough experience in their eyes to be able to take on a deal like that.
We had one group, God bless their soul, and we appreciate them taking the time to talk to us. They have created and it's good. They created like a criteria, right? We want our investors, our sponsors, that would be us, to have a specific track record. We want them to be able to have managed a number of assets, and they define what that looks like, which is nice. And one of those, I think it was like a 5-5 rule, right? It was like 5 years of doing this, and
5,000 units.
Right, exactly. 5,000 units and some other 5 number. And the ironic part of this is the group themselves, I think they were 2 years?
3
years
years.
old?
Yeah, something like that. So, yeah, so they don't even fit their own criteria, and yet they're placing that on other people. So, yeah.
Listen, he who has the gold makes the golden rules.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So, touching upon these equity groups and close calls and challenges that we ran into, was this idea that, so this particular, we didn't really get into the deal itself, did we? Maybe we did. No, we did. We talked about Van Aken District, and we talked about the opportunity there. And so to remind you, we've got this Shaker 6 property it's in a great location in a suburb of Cleveland called Shaker Heights. And it's right across the street from a $100 million mixed use transit-oriented development called Van Aken District. The real opportunity, that's great. But, as a value add dudes, a team here, we look for places that are their current rents are well below the market, or membership fees, which when we turn it into an anticipate property, become membership fees. So what we liked about Shaker deal is the portfolio was that the rents were anywhere from at least $200 to as much as $700 under market rents. And one of the challenges, the kind of the status quo mentality that we were running into is that, and by the way, we recognize that was one of the things that we were so excited about, was the fact that up until that point, we had underwritten 80 deals just in 2020 alone. And rarely do we find deals that rents are below market by, more than $300?
Yeah.
That never happens. It's usually in the under 300, in the 200s, hundreds if you're lucky, whatever. So we were blown away at the potential upside by this. Well, so was everybody else. They were blown away so much that they couldn't get over the disbelief that there is no way you can get this property from where they are now to what you're saying. It's a hill too great to climb. We heard that a lot. And we know Howard didn't have that problem, and he did this for 20 years. And we know that, we showcase that in our world, we describe each floor plan, we'll call them finished quality, by different types. We have legacy, we have vintage or vintage legacy, classic, and a premium model, bespoke. Yeah. So we were saying if we did nothing, we had 2 comp properties that are on the same street, they're right next door to us. It's not even like they're miles away. They're right next to us. They're getting at least $200 a month on average between their 1s and 2s and 3s, higher than what we are doing. And their interior finishes look exactly the same. They have the same Formica countertops, the same ceramic floor. It's the same product. And so our argument is, if we went in and spent $0 and we just asked for more money, if 200 was the ceiling and we got 150, we're still ahead of where we are right now. And that model showed out to be a lucrative model where the returns were there. They weren't fantastic, but you weren't losing money by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah. And then we were saying, well, look, we've got a property that's 1.5 miles in the wrong direction, lower walk score, lower transit score, lower bike score. Those are the walkscore.com scores, by the way. And they are similar vintage, older property, and they did the same value recipe, right? What do, Matt? They go in, they do the kitchens, do the flooring, they did a
great job.
It looks great. Yeah. And they're getting $500 or more a month in rents than we are. Now, some of the pushback we got, well, that's a different school district. Well, great. Not everybody who has a family wants to live over there. We have people that live in our community, potentially live in the community that we're trying to acquire, that don't have kids. So school districts are irrelevant to them. So, you can't cater to everybody that has kids if they don't have kids. Yep. So, we ran through a number of models that showed, okay, well, here's what happens worst case. If we don't get those $500 pushes, we get some number below that, somewhere between the 2 and 500. And we'd show these to these people, and it's sort of like their mind was already made up, right? Like this is just, this is impossible. And it's frustrating. And I think Matt and I, we relish the opportunity to be able to demonstrate that isn't the case and really make this place a case study.
A spectacle.
Right? A spectacle. So we're still working to get to that point, but that was a big thing we'd get to eventually, right? If we could get over the perceived lack of experience or get over the management stuff and eventually the location, and then they, you look at the opportunity there and they're like, oh, this is impossible. You can't do that.
Yep.
Then we had, what about your call with a very, very, very successful investor? Name unnamed, but
yes.
he had
So
how many units?
Something like 120,000 units, something like that. World-renowned, sought-after speaker, consultant for real estate.
Worth billions.
Yeah,
it's nuts.
So he called me. So we made a connection with a local guy here in Cleveland, who this guy is his best friend.
Yeah.
So they were talking about this deal, and right. Our connection said that he didn't tell him.
Let's call him Bob. Let's call this rock star Bob. Call Bob.
Yeah. So Bob decided to take it upon himself to reach out to us sort of on his own.
He's a go-getter.
So he calls me. He's like, "Hey, this is Bob." I'm like, "Holy shit! Like what? Bob's calling me? Like the little old me?" So we had, I don't know, we had probably a half-hour long conversation where
Bob gave you 30 minutes of his time.
Yeah, I mean, it was cool. It was great. We were talking about different things, and incidentally, his mom actually owns one of the properties that we were using.
One of our legacy comps.
Yeah. So he originally was born in this area, doesn't live in this area anymore, has gone on and done amazing things, but is very, very familiar with the area. And same type of thing. Again, he's very much so industry structured, or industry washed, I guess you can say.
Yeah.
Where he feels like, and again, if you look at things the exact same way, the way that everyone's always done things, yes, you're not going to be able to accomplish anything different. But putting these different spins on things and these looking at different things, treating people differently, the way that we're running our properties, you're going to get different results. So at any rate, so Bob wasn't a fan of trying to push the rents all the way up to the 500 plus dollar a month spectrum. He felt like that was going to be pretty well impossible. So, and again, maybe, for all we know, maybe, some of this is right, but even in our underwriting, we never said we're going to get 100% of that. So again, I think let's just call it $1,500. It's like $1,500, whatever it was. I think we were doing 88% of that. So we were probably in the 1,300-ish range is where we were saying we could get to. And everyone, we would kept pointing that out, and everybody kept on saying, "Oh no, you can't compare yourself to Beechwood. You can't compare yourself to that other property over there." And really, we're still scratching our head and saying, why can't we? Again, as JP said, the biggest hurdle is really the school districts. But again, not all of the residents that are currently in there have kids, and actually the demographics in Shaker City as a whole.
Yep.
Shows that it's more young professionals and older adults that live there. So, I mean, that's the city as a whole, not just our apartments. That's who lives in Shaker. So,
yep.
So you cater to that demographic. You give them a much better housing experience than anywhere else. They'll come.
They will come. And on that note, our next topic that we are going to talk about is blowing up partnerships. That's going to be a longer thing, so I think we'll save that one for the next time. Otherwise, this was fun going through recent old wounds. Matt, I'm really enjoying this.
Yeah.
And those of you that are spending the time listening to us that aren't our moms, we need your help. This is going to be the Jerry Lewis marathon telethon. So subscribe, share, comment. Like if you got some sort of
hit that little red button over there. You
got wherever the button is. I'm going to do one of these things. Hit the subscribe up here. Meanwhile, it's right below me. Share it. Like tell us what you liked, didn't like.
Ask, and if you have questions too, let us know. Maybe we can help answer some of your vexing problems that you're having as you're going through your growing pains
Vexing.
as well.
That's a good one.
Vexing. Yeah.
I used kvetch this morning and you used vexing. This is good. And if nothing else, you get some good vocabulary, 25-cent words. Well, with that, Matt, I'll see you later because we work together.
Yep.
But thanks for doing this with me.
Absolutely.
All right. See you later.
Bye.